Greetings, this is Pillar Next to Ancient Gladiator with more Pillar Loves tabletop games with the Great City of Rome, game of rebuilding Imperial Rome with your architect and cards and everything else. Start of the game, you'll have one emissary. In a two-player game, both the players will have two emissaries. You'll have your emissary, you'll have 5 gold, you'll have a starting farm, and a starting residence. Every round will be 3 phases. Upkeep phase, where we'll flip the top action strip and place it at the bottom. This is the first turn of the game, so we really don't need to. And then draw the top building of each deck. Real quick, the first deck contains star cards that will be used. That will get points to people who check for influence at the time. But okay, back to the upkeep. So everyone will have access to these. Players will. Oh yeah. In addition to, before that, I'm skipping steps, and I'm sorry. So, the first player to the first player's right will take the top 4 cards of deck 2, keep 1 to their hand, and then pass the rest around. So that way you have an option to consider. So, starting with the first player and going clockwise. They can place the emissary on any unoccupied space of the action strip. The closer the emissary is to the emperor, the earlier then they can choose the building. But the fewer bricks and cogs they have for actually doing anything this turn, the further you'll end up getting whatever's left out of this, but you'll be able to get all this without having to pay anything. So, from the top down, players will take their actions. So, first, the first player is going to take, the first player in this line is going to take one of these cards, add it to their hand, and then they can build a card from their hand, and they can either do that first or they can produce first. To build, you need to have bricks. So, say I'm here. Yeah, let's say I'm here. 2 people went before me, so let's say these 2 are gone, for example. And brown, there we go. Alright. So I'm going, there's these 2 cards left. I'm going to take, I will take the aqueduct because I can make it worth points. And then I have 2 bricks because I have the space I'm on and everything that's in front leading up to the emperor. So 2 bricks, which just build the aqueduct. So building, you can only build orthogonally. Once you have a row of 4 or a column of 4, that limits what your building ability. And with the aqueduct, it's really important because you can only build 1 aqueduct per column and row. So putting this here, if I ever come across any more aqueducts, I probably want to try to aim to have them here, here, and here, or here, here, and here, if I want to try to max out the bonus. Alternatively, I could build another residence and make that bigger, but it's only worth as much as the public buildings multiplied by the residential value. So I'm gonna have to get one before the game's over. Now, if I wanted to play something that costs more bricks, since I only have two, a 3-brick building, I would have to spend 2 money per brick that I'm short. Now, the other action being produce, I've got 1 gear. It would cost me 1 money to make up for lost gear, but it's only getting me 1 money in the first place. So it's a wash. And then after you do the actions, you remove your emissary. Once everyone's done their actions, the player whose emissary is now the closest. The next player in clockwise order will take the first player marker. So some other stuff includes the influence scoring. So there are buildings that can get you influence tokens, like this one. Some buildings have a, let's see if I can find one of them that has it. Some buildings have a star mark on them. Let's see. Really? Nope. Not a single one in this pile. That is. There we go. You know what? I think they're all in deck 1. Yeah, there we go. If it has a little star mark on that lower left corner, then you'll take an influence token when you build it. And then when it actually gets to when this card flips up and it releases this card, at the end of the round, we'll check for influence. Player the most spends all their star chips and then takes the card, and we'll have that much of a bonus at the end. And then, but if there's a tie, it stays out there until the next round, until the tie is broken. This deck is also the timer for the game. You start with 2 cards. The deck is 14 cards. If you miss one opportunity to build, you're not completing that square. But anyway, final scoring when it gets to it. So you have residential areas. What you want to do is try to get public buildings adjacent. So this is worth 2. 4 times 2 is 8. Only unique ones count. Unique public buildings count. Yeah. There's the aqueducts, which are worth points based on how many you have in your city. 1 is 4, 2 is 12, 3 is 24, 4 is 40. Temples. So there are these little purple buildings called temples, which do various things. This is the you better complete your city if you want the bonus temple. And they have certain names in the back. And then coins. So having to make up for lost bricks and cogs, drains your money. Yeah, try not to let too much of your money get drained, because you straight up get points for your money at the end. If you still have influence tokens at the end of the game, every 2 is worth a point. Your influence cards are worth that many points. And that's pretty much it. Players with the most points wins, of course. It's it's not too hard of a game. You know, why do I like it? It's because it's not too hard. You just have to think ahead a bit. It's kind of hard to predict whether the thing you need the most that's going to come out the turn you're most likely to secure it. But then you kind of need to think about how to um, keep up the pace with building. And you don't want to forget the public buildings with your residences. Something like building up a gigantic residence and not getting that public building and have it worth nothing. These little green production buildings can help you out. They're not worth points unless there might be a temple that does it. You know, they may not necessarily be worth points unless you have a certain temple, but they can make the process go so much smoother that in the long run they might be worth getting. But yeah, it's ancient Roman SimCity as a card game, standalone card game, sorts, and then the action strips change, every round, so that things get shaken up. So there's that replayability and the different things that could come out, dealing with this situation. And it's a nice game. I'll give it that. Not the greatest game ever, but it's still pretty good, I think. I should definitely bring this one for the board game league. But the thing, okay, here's the thing. Games that top out at 4 players are kind of risky because our average group tends to be a 5. Which is why I end up bringing games like Citadels on a constant basis. But if you regularly have a small group, if you're okay with a small group, this is a fine game. So yeah, Great City Rome. Find a copy, check it out, play it. Might enjoy it. It's been Pillar Nexus. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you next time.